Right, here I am with Pey.
Hello.
Pey,
Hello, Eric.
what brings you here? Tell us a little bit.
Change the world, of course. What else? Specifically, I bring the perspective of the youth, human rights, and of course, environmental management from the Philippines.
Okay, and you are here as official participant of the delegation.
Yes, I participated in the NGO conference for 3 days, from March 27 to March 30, and then after that, we were actually invited to participate in the UNESCO World Conference.
Okay, and what do you think about it, or in general, what's happening in education and
Well,
sustainable
yesterday was
development?
pretty much bland and boring, if I can say that. But today I just heard about the recommendations and the evaluation conducted by the different UNESCO agencies all around the world, and that pretty much is the reality. These are the things that we recognize and we discovered on our own NGO conference, and if we are to basically mainstream education for sustainable development in the next 5 years, while we recognize the fact that a lot has been done, we must also admit to ourselves that there are still plenty of things to do for us to basically achieve what we have set to do 5 years ago.
I was just talking to other projects here, so I didn't go to their rapporteur and those things. Can you tell us about the things they said? Maybe I don't know what they said. Different things and steps to undertake or to focus in the next 5 years.
Well, Professor Konai from Fiji is actually was our guest in our NGO conference, and coming also from the South, we share the same perspectives. That in many ways than one, we should always be careful about the concept and idealization of ESD, because from the South, anything that has to do with sustainable development has always been viewed as coming from the West.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, because not to take anything away from the values of sustainable development themselves, but as a matter of fact, we have been practicing our very own sustainable form of development before capitalism.
Yeah, and before colonialism,
before
for thousands of
colonialism
years,
came to our shores.
Yeah, but that's a big chance to build up if those traditions and understanding is rediscovered.
And the sad thing is, because of the encompassing and the way capitalism was actually integrated into our society and into our economy and politics, these indigenous forms of sustainable development for our society have been set aside. Yeah, for example, before colonialism came to our country, we always have this concept and paradigm of development wherein there is no particular individual that should be set aside or emphasized for a particular development plan. It should be a community effort. So, for example, a particular community in the Philippines basically owns all the resources that are not within their disposal, but within their management, and they are there to take care of these resources, not for themselves alone, but for the future generations as well.
So what we call stewardship.
Yes,
so
precisely.
it belongs to us, so we take care of it.
Precisely.
So,
that's the idea of our indigenous form of development. So we have this belief, for example, we have this animism belief that when our ancestor dies, for example, they assume the spirit of the trees, of the rivers, of the plants, of the animals that we eat. So it would be basically immoral and unethical for us to kill an animal, to cut trees, or to harvest beyond what we need or beyond the needs of the community. Compare that to the paradigm of development that has been imposed by capitalism and other forms of development in the West, wherein they exploit to sell and, sadly and depressingly, even to profit from these resources. Where is the value of sharing?
Yes.
Where's the value of stewardship?
Yes.
Gone out the window.
Yeah.
It's all about individualism and taking care of what's good for one's individual.
It reminds me, there are streams in ESD, but well, that is still far from many actors. Is these new ethics and a new worldview for a sustainable civilization.
Yeah.
You know, if I make it short from our side, we have a technological worldview in the urban civilizations, you know, all the urban societies. Yes. I don't like to say the West or Europe because there's not much difference between a person in Berlin, Moscow, or Japan or Tokyo.
Yes,
it's just an urban culture, disconnected from nature and disconnected from spirituality.
Yes.
So that's all an unsustainable culture and society from our view, how we see it.
Yeah.
So I find it really interesting that a young person, you know, from Philippines is mentioning these things, values, not only as ethical values, but connected with animism and the spirituality behind it. You know, because
we all live in one world, basically, and whether we like it or not, we're all connected.
Yes. Well, and I notice, especially when we are in such environments as here, we have about 2,000 or more cultures on the planet.
Yeah.
And there's only 2 or 3 European Western ones that kind of don't see the family relationship with animals, with Mother Earth, and so on. And maybe it can be remarked that those are the unsustainable ones, and the other ones have this family feeling. But
that's why.
So how do you? Is that still widespread in the Philippines? On the one hand, there's also a lot of Christianity.
It's no longer widespread, and that's why I've always maintained that and we still believe that if education is actually the primary vehicle or tool or even strategy for cultural transformation, it should also be used as the primary tool for cultural reorientation and rediscovery of our roots, rediscovery of our roots to our particular community, to our indigenous ways of living.
How come you have still connection to this old spirituality about animism or these experiences? Have you grown up still in such a cultural environment,
no.
Did you experience it?
I already grew up in a very urban setting, but I just happened to be oriented to these things because of my education from the Philippines. So my education, coming from the University of the Philippines, has oriented me to appreciate the way we lived before colonialism.
So you learned it at university?
Precisely. So, and just imagine if my kind of education, free, liberal, thinking education, wherein you have all access to all interpretations of the realities that we have around the world, would be offered to all Filipinos or to basically all youths around the world, then they have the power to choose which amongst this reality they will pursue.
Or they take,
or they
can learn and take
with them,
the best
share
thing
with
from
them.
these different cultures and worldviews.
Yeah.